Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby, coming to you live from the Seaport District of Manhattan and brought to you by Chase. Jalen, in Game 5, Kevin Durant did not have Kyrie Irving, barely had James Harden, scored 49 points, got them the come-from-behind win. Tonight, in Game 6, will Giannis cover Kevin Durant?
Yes.
Will it happen?
How about this? When Giannis got in the car and went home after the last game, he was in the ride with his big brother. And I guarantee his older brother told him, man, if coach put me in there, I'll lock KD down. Right? You know he said that. You know he has that irrational confidence or he wouldn't be in the league, right? That's his role, right? And you know the second thing he said? Hey, dog, I ain't as good as you. We actually need you to accept the challenge. And if you look back at this series in the fourth quarter, you know how many times Giannis Antetokounmpo has guarded Kevin Durant?
In the entire series?
0. Like, I'm extremely disappointed in that, dog.
Pat Connaughton should not cover Kevin Durant more than Giannis.
Family. By accident, if you're out there playing 40 minutes and another guy playing 48 minutes, you have to guard him. Put that back up there. His brother got to stand up guarding him. See what I'm saying?
The Nassus Antetokounmpo. Yeah.
Come on, dog.
4 times the Nassus Antetokounmpo has guarded Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter. 0 times Giannis.
Dog, you have to, and first off, not only greatness on greatness, ability on ability, MVP on MVP, but how about just sheer length? Like, these are two dudes, and let me teach you guys about the anatomy of a 6'11 player. Kevin Durant is the 6'11 player with guard skills, but the height of a big that can do some things like block shots, contest shots. Giannis at 6'11 has the ability of a big where he's going to get you the boards, get you the blocks, and play near the paint, but also has the ability to get out on the floor and initiate offense and guard point guards and stuff like that. But that ain't his forte. Look back even a couple of years ago when the Toronto Raptors advanced past the Milwaukee Bucks. I bet if you go back to that series, you could say the same thing about Giannis not guarding Kawhi Leonard. So
it's going to happen tonight, though.
But tonight is the night. Tonight.
And we'll see what we get from James Harden. Obviously, they're going to be without Kyrie Irving, who didn't even travel to Milwaukee for the game. And injuries have told the story of this postseason.
Yes.
There has been 9 All-Stars.
Wow, that's crazy.
That have missed games, including Chris Paul, if he misses game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And LeBron James. The Sixers were up by 24 points.
Waxing the Hawks.
It was over. And then Trae Young and the Hawks turned the entire thing around. This was not a comeback. This was a collapse by the Sixers. What do you think of this game?
First, shout to Nate McMillan, because the resolve of this young basketball team has been remarkable for their first overall playoff run together. And Trae Young in particular, going against multiple defenders.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter whether it's Ben Simmons. It don't matter whether it's Thibault. It don't matter whether it's Tobias Harris. He still found a way to initiate the offense and play make for those around him. In particular, the beneficiary is our guy, John Collins. And that 3 that he made was major.
Huge.
In that comeback.
Huge.
And all of a sudden now, if you're Philadelphia, you go from being in the driver's seat thinking that you have the answers to solving Trae Young, and then they go to the bench. Lou Will came in the fourth quarter.
Lemon Pepper Lou.
He was balling.
Yeah, he was.
Putting in work. He and Gallo. Were both balling, and they needed that productivity to get themselves back in the game.
My only criticism of Gallo's game last night is, remember when he had the mohawk? He's letting it grow out now. Like, he needs to see the barber. It just looks so much better with the mohawk. He had a playoff cut. But Jalen, I can't stress this enough. As we celebrated the Hawks, this was a complete meltdown from a strategy perspective, from an execution perspective, and from a gentleman by the name of Ben Simmons.
So the thing about Ben Simmons, I believe if the Philadelphia 76ers lose to the Atlanta Hawks, when you look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference, Boston is now changing their coach. The Nets now have a big 3. The Bucks have Giannis re-signed. I believe if they lose the series, they'll probably change their coach. So if you're Philly, what move do you now make? Hinkie, gone. GM, trust the process. Old coach, Brown, gone. Right? You bring in Daryl Morey. You bring in Doc Rivers. And all of a sudden you're getting bounced by the Hawks. I believe if the Sixers lose in this series, they're going to break up Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid.
Well, they tried. They tried earlier this season. They tried to trade Ben Simmons for James Harden. It did not work. But you know there were only 2 human beings in a Sixers jersey that scored field goals in the second half, and that was Seth Curry, who had a great game, and Joel Embiid. Like, it was just a complete meltdown by them. You have to look at Doc Rivers as well.
Shout to Seth Curry because, like you mentioned, he was the only one that played above his expectation, and he kept him in that game. Mm-hmm. And put those fourth quarter numbers back up there, please, for the Philadelphia 76ers Big Three. Because you know what may not be up there? The free throw Joel missed late. That was also crucial. And like I told you, Ben Simmons, it's one thing not to score a field goal in the fourth quarter. Oh, by the way, he hasn't scored one in the last 2 fourth quarters. It's another thing to have 0, dog.
I know.
Like, to have a donut in the fourth quarter for your all-star, your all-NBA performer, like, I tell everybody the pieces of the chessboard just become awkward in the playoffs because they need to occupy the same real estate. Joel is best around the basket and in the paint. So is Ben Simmons. Like I told you.
We've been saying this for years.
They're the only team. Get this knowledge, y'all. They're the only team whose 2 best players aren't primary three-point shooters. They're the only team in these playoffs. And so what happens is if they're not out in transition, they're not getting steals, and they're not getting blocks, and you're able to set your defense, and Ben Simmons is a poor free throw shooter as well, like Philly in trouble. I told you I was at the game on Monday. And what did I tell you I saw when they came to the timeouts?
Joel Embiid lying down on the sideline like Larry Bird, looking up at the ceiling, fatigued. And it looked like he was also fatigued in the fourth quarter of this one. It's not just this season. We've been saying that about Joel Embiid in the playoffs for years now.
His productivity between the first quarter, first half, versus the fourth quarter.
2 different people.
2 different players.
2 different people.
It's 2 different players. And so if you're Doc Rivers, if they lose this series, he's going to now start to be questioned also.
Remember last year when he was playing Montrezl Harrell and Jokic was doing whatever he wanted? He was questioned then and he lost his job.
And you know who was on that team last year? Lou Will. You know how much he loved doing that? Mm-hmm. Think about it. Lou Will played for Doc Rivers last year. And they came up short of expectation. And so if they lose this year, they're not going to fire Doc, but man, he's going to be on the hot seat as it relates to fans and media.
Well, we had another game in the nightcap. It was a Kawhi-less Clippers going up against the Jazz. And listen, I'm going to say it out loud. I wrote the Clippers off without Kawhi Leonard. I was like, there's no chance that they are going to win this series without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Not pandemic P, it was playoff P last night.
This was a signature moment in a Clippers uniform for Paul George that he sorely needed.
Preach.
This was the best player in the Indiana Pacer uniform going against LeBron James and the Miami Heat that I saw last night. He was on a trajectory to be a superstar as an Indiana Pacer. He had a horrific injury, and then he goes to OKC, reinvents himself, gets in the MVP conversation, becomes a member of the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard, and all of a sudden struggles when they need him the most. Kawhi goes out after both of them been playing well. All eyes were on Paul George, and he over-delivered.
Oh yeah,
he over-delivered.
He had like a Kevin Durant game. Like it was like Kevin Durant's game.
Correct.
Look at the rebounds, 5 assists.